Okay, I'm doing a very quick video on how to mod a Super Nintendo Classic. I have some custom blueprints, you could say, for these, so I'm not going to show you how to add games and get artwork for them. I'm just going to show you how to mod a Super Nintendo and how long it's going to take. So, the first thing you're going to want to do is have a Classic. Open up, I can't pronounce that, but open up this app. You can find it on Google. My preset games, so my games, let's say Breath of Fire, I already got the artwork, whatnot. So the first thing you do is you take your USB cable, you plug it into your system in the back, which is your power data cable. And the first thing you do is you go kernel, flash custom kernel, and hit yes. And then you hold down reset, power, and keep holding reset. And the light comes on, or actually it will come on eventually. But what this is doing is this is flashing the kernel. You'll have to do this twice, not flash the kernel twice, but the power reset twice, and I'll show you as it does it. So it's going to dump the original kernel. And it's very important that you probably might want to back up your original kernel eventually too. And your original kernel will be in something called dump. And that's my original right there, which I dumped in February, but I'm going to dump another kernel, so. And the light does come on eventually. And yeah, I have the front panel on this one off because it normally plugs into this here, your front panel lid, and the lid gets in the way all the time. It's kind of annoying because it just kind of flops, and when you have your thing stuck in, it kind of doesn't level out right. So with my unit seen here is you could take the front door off, and it makes this a lot easier for plugging in and out. So now it's verifying, it's building the custom kernel image. This apparently is roughly a 4-minute process to patch the kernel. And whatever you do, don't unplug the unit or turn it off when it's doing this. Okay, so now that the kernel's been patched, we're going to turn the system off. You don't turn it off right away. I'd wait about 30 seconds because it's actually doing something on the other monitor, I mean TV, but you won't be able to see it in this video. But if you had this plugged into a TV, into a monitor while doing this, your screen will actually show you what it's doing. So I'm going to power it off now. When you do, when you hit the power, you have to wait for the light to go fully out. Okay, so now that it's off, you go settings, modulars, you install extra modulars. Now these ones here, we're not going to install these. This one allows for Game Boy games, this one allows for Genesis, this one allows for N64, meme games, this is for PC Engine games or Turbo Graphics FX, this is for Game Boy, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, this is N64, This one's for I'm trying to see where it says in there. Cave Story games. This one's for Genesis, Game Gear, and Sega 3D. And these are for Super Famicom games. So what we're going to do, because we're just going to do a standard Super NES conversion, or hack, we're going to go extra space is what I do, because it migrates your save states and whatnot to a 50 meg partition that's unused in these, so you're not butting space with save games as well as your games. And we will go RetroArch. This is an emulator that runs next to the one that's in here for games that may have problems running on the default emulator. RetroArch is required to run games that aren't Super Nintendo games. So if you're running anything other than Super Nintendo games on here, you have to have RetroArch. So RetroArch and extra space just for Super Nintendo conversion. So that's what we're just going to do here. So we'll hit OK. It's going to ask for the same thing. Hold restart. Hit power. Keep holding restart until the screen comes up. Okay, let go of restart and let it finish building its kernel again. And this one doesn't nearly take as long. Okay, the kernel patch is done. So now we just wait for the system to finish doing what it's doing, and I'm watching it on my other side. Okay, now I'm gonna flip it off. Actually, I lied. You don't need to flip it off. It just rebooted. Okay, so I am going to flip this off though. Normally you wouldn't have to, but I'm gonna do it anyways. So you're gonna flip it off, because let's just say you had a hacked one already. Let's just say you wanted to just add games, like down the line you wanted to remove games or ads. So we're just gonna go that route for now. But after doing the modular install, you don't actually have to flip these off. So we're gonna flip it back on. And what you're going to see down here, as soon as it goes green, it's going to tell you, it's going to go green, it's going to tell you how much space is on this unit and how much these games are going to take up. And you never want to use the full amount of space because of internal save games like Zelda and whatnot. It's always good to have, I would say a good 2 meg, possibly 5, but a good 2 meg for save files if you can get away with it. Because there's two ways you can save games on here. You can save them, if a game supports saving its own save file like Mario Kart, it will create a save file next to the game. If it uses save states, it will, I have this one set up that it'll use the save state in the 50 meg partition. So once we got that, the next thing we're going to do, before we add games, is we're going to go through the settings. We're going to go page structure, we're going to go original, games and root, folder split by the first letter. And we're going to go make sure it's standard 30 games per page. Then we're going to go hacks, and we're going to use button combination to reset, and then we're going to pick our button combination. In this case, we're going to use left, right, bumper, and down. This will allow you to soft reset the console as well as save states and load save states. That's how you do it on these. And once we're done that, we're going to go compress when adding games to save space to add more games. We're going to use extended fonts. We're going to disable the protection, and we're going to enable USB host. And once you're all done that, we're going to click Save Settings. This system's going to quickly reboot when it does that. As you can see down here, the light's off. That means the system's currently rebooting. System's back up, and then once you got all your games added, like I have here, This is preset. And this one's just nothing but Super Nintendo games. I didn't add anything other. We're going to go synchronize. It's going to build it. Now it's going to upload the games. It's going to say done. And that's it. This entire machine now is modded with just Super NES games, and now the system's going to reboot. That's it. That's how you just do a standard Super NES conversion. Now, if you wanted to do a all-in-one unit with mix and match, I'll wait for the system to come back up. Eventually it'll come back up. There it goes. So if I wanted to do a mix and match system, I would close this one. I would go back to here. I'd go here and I go Super NES to mixed, because this is my pre-mixed version. I'd load this up. And the big difference here is the modular. So these are what you'd have to install for mixed system. Wait, did I? Oh, because it's reading what's on this one. I would have to put in my other one. But to do a mixed one, you'd have to go this. I'd have to go extra space, retro. I'd have to go this one and this one as well. And what that one will do is allow me to install. Actually, I'd also probably go. I'd go this one as well. And then I'd go this one as well here. And then I'd hit OK. But I'm not about to do it on the system that I just did with the Super NES. This one will allow me to play Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo, Game Boy Color, Advanced Game Boy, Genesis, Game Gear, Sega Mega Drive, 3DX, and Sega CD. I could go a little bit crazier and add some main games in there if I wanted to. I could add N64 on top of it. And if I really wanted to, I could add Neo Geo right here. Sorry, that's Cave Story. I'd add Super Famicom if I wanted to run Super Famicom. But the more modulars you install, the less space you'll have for games. So there is kind of a hardware space limitation. However, you can install. If you get a pass-through adapter, you can actually put a USB drive on this as well. So if you could find a USB adapter, I don't actually have one because if I did, I'd be doing it myself. But you can get pass-through USB adapters where you could stick the power in one end, the USB adapter in another, and it have a USB thumb drive here. And a 128 gig thumb drive will easily work in one of these. But this is my combined system for Nintendo. It's just strictly Nintendo games. So we got Game Boy Advance, regular games, Super games, and NES games, all on a single unit, which is the one I have sitting in my room, in my front room, and this one I just reflashed for strictly Super Nintendo. But that's how you do it. It's nothing too special about modding these units.